The funny part about all this is, not a big race car guy. I didn't think I was going to end up enjoying this one, actually. Well, 2020 is full of surprises.
We're gonna make history.
So we have Ford versus Ferrari. So yeah, Ford versus Ferrari, again, like my last review, is a case of a film that technically it came out in 2019, but I haven't seen it until 2020 because Oscar season is abuzz, and it wasn't really a film that was on the top of my radar. It wasn't like I saw the trailers, I saw all plenty of coverage, I knew about the film, but I just saw it and I was like, oh cool, Matt Damon, Christian Bale, Nito Mosquito, but I'm not a big race guy. Like, it's one of those movies where if it was a big sports movie where it's like she was the first tennis player to do X, Y, and Z, I would be like, I'll watch the movie, but I'm not dying to see it. So I actually ended up sleeping on this one, and then the other night I was out with Franchise, and I'm like, well, I'm thinking about seeing a movie. I want to go see one tonight. What do you want to see? And it was his pick, and he was like, you know what? Ford versus Ferrari. And I'm glad that he did. Ford versus Ferrari surprised me very much with how much I enjoyed it and how good of a film it was. I know it has a couple Oscar noms. I think one is for sound design, and I forget if there were any others, honestly. But Ford versus Ferrari, even if you're not a sports race car fan, directed by James Mangold. And if you don't know who he is, which I didn't either, it's another one of those movies where it has a director who's done quality content, but you don't know the name. This man directed Logan, which is really the only it's really the only X-Men film that I've seen, and I kind of want to keep it that way because I thought Logan was amazing. It was the only and the best portrayal of Wolverine that I've seen live action. If you go back further, he also directed Walk the Line and 3:10 to Yuma. So this director has a wide palette of which he's drawn into to film stuff. Hence why he's gone from directing Logan to Ford v Ferrari, which is the old story about how Ford went to beat the Ferrari Motor Company at their own game, essentially. And it was really interesting because if you had asked me before this movie if I knew much about it, I would say no. And frankly, when it comes down to it, I could give less of a shit about any of that. But this movie did what a good movie does and takes a general audience who might be seeing this outside the frame of reference of someone who already knows about all of this and brings them into it and makes them interested in what's going on. And granted, actors are portraying the real people and they try to do the best justice they can. So that being said, everybody did a great job in this film, and I found myself caring for it immensely. Overall, I didn't think it was going to be that much of a good. I didn't think it was going to be a fantastic film, but ended up being a really, really good ride. I enjoyed the acting. Matt Damon and Christian Bale nail it. The supporting cast does a good job. None of the roles in the film seemed superfluous, if you know what I mean. Everybody was there for a specific reason. I laughed throughout the movie. There were good comedic beats. There were good serious dramatic beats where I was like, oh my god, and I started to feel like those emotions welling up inside. And I think Franchise said it best. The film, when it came down to it, it wasn't even really about, granted, it was about Ford versus Ferrari, but it's that's just the title and what they were trying to do. While the film is about that historic race and this historic car build, it also makes sure to show that, the people behind all of this, the guy who helped to design the car, the guy who drove it and raced it and also helped to design, it really kind of lifts the curtain and makes it more of a story about the people who came together to make all this possible. So I don't want to spoil too much in case, once again, like 1917, this is a case where you could you could go into the movie blind, or you can do some research. Maybe you already know the story, so perhaps you already know what happened. It's not very hard to go online and find out what already happens. But for those of you who haven't seen the movie, don't do that, maybe, just to make sure that you're kind of in for the ride. So you'll be able to be like, oh, are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it? How's this going to pan out? And that's usually the best way to experience a movie, is when you don't know how it's going to end. The only drawbacks I had from this were just a couple of the narrative decisions in terms of the dramatic aspect added to it by trying to tie in a family component to one of the main characters, and I don't want to say it dragged down the film, but it just didn't sit right with me. And then there was a little bit of narrative resolution toward the end of the film that I thought was a tad bit sudden, and I get what they were going for, but it just didn't set quite right with me. And maybe I'm just nitpicking, but the film was almost perfect in my eyes, if not for just a couple little bits like that. But again, I'm just nitpicking. Overall, I super enjoyed this film. The acting was great. The visuals, especially like the racing sequences and all that. Oh my god, the heart just pitter patter, just pounding away. I'm just, like, I got into it. I was so surprised I got into it, and the sound design was immaculate. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's what they have the Oscar nomination for. But the sound design in this movie was like, ooh. If you're a car person, you'll hear those babies purr. I mean, you'll be all over it. But I digress. When it comes down to it, it's always the hard part, isn't it? When it comes down to it, I give Ford versus Ferrari a solid 4 out of 5. I hesitate to give it a perfect score because I didn't feel like it was like a perfect movie. It was a fantastic film, but just like I said, there were just a few bits of narrative choices and beats that it just didn't quite fit with me into the narrative. But that aside, the movie was great. I surprised myself with how much I actually enjoyed this, because given the trailers, I didn't think I was going to really walk out of the movie being like, oh my god, that was great. I thought I was going to be like, oh, it was all right. But no, Ford versus Ferrari surprised me. So even if you're not a racing fan, even if you're not into all that, highfalutin NASCAR or other off-roading tracks or more complicated stuff, or Ferrari or the history of the Shelby Motor Company, even if you're not into any of that, it was a very enjoyable film, just a film in general. Another case of 1917, even if you're not a fan of military and war, go see it. Ford versus Ferrari, even if you're not a fan of racing, go see it, because it was a good quality film. Everything about it was done very well, and I very much enjoyed it. I don't know if I would buy it on Blu-ray. Maybe if it was on sale during Black Friday, I might pick it up, add it to the collection, touch on it every couple years or so. But overall, I very much enjoyed it. Didn't love it, but I very much enjoyed it. So it's still sticking with me. I'm still thinking about it. Any film that you can walk out and still be thinking about it a few days later, a week later, what have you, it's usually a good film. So yeah, thank you guys and gals so much for watching. It's always interesting when I do these movie reviews because I'm not sure exactly how much detail for each portion to go into. I don't want to dwell too much on, the visual, the acting, this and that, and have it be like a 20, 30 plus minute comprehensive breakdown. I'll save those breakdowns for the films I fucking can't get enough of, or the films that I hate. And if you have any requests for films that you want me to review, or you think I should review, by all means, leave them down at comment section right below my face. And otherwise, thank you so much for the support and the views, and stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. Thank you very much, and here we go. Goodbye, travelers.